provide medical cannabis as quickly as possible. And you can see there's been a huge amount of work that's gotten us to this day. I want to thank Sam Flynn, the Office of Medical Cannabis, for doing a significant amount of work in a short period of time. This administration did not wait. We moved forward and began receiving applications from prospective medical cannabis businesses in July. The interest was overwhelming. In total, the Office of Medical Cannabis received 4,998 applications across all the categories, which brings us to today. In a few moments, in partnership with the folks at the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, who we thank for their service and their professionalism, the fact that they do this every day and they do it with such integrity shows how serious this program is and how it is fair to all of the applicants that met the requirements to be in the lottery. Through the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, we will begin the first licensed lottery for medical cannabis cultivators and processors. We're going to hear from Sam Flynn about the licensing process and the lottery, but I would remind people that remember, when this program starts, it is limited. That's the way it was set up by the General Assembly. There are only certain specific conditions that are included, and our goal has always been to get it right, to start it at the right size and to be able to grow from there, but to make sure we don't replicate mistakes made in other areas or in other states, and ultimately create a system that is bigger than the initial demand may be. I believe the way this has been put together is responsible. It's going to ensure that we have a system that is properly regulated and is safe. And today, we're going to learn about the processors and the cultivators that are going to be the first licensees that are going to help us bring this program into existence. So first, we'll hear a few words from the Office of Medical Cannabis Executive Director Sam Flynn about the licensing process and lottery. It's going to be a truly exciting moment for Kentucky. We're so glad to have everybody here to take part and to watch. With that, I'll turn it over to Sam, and I'll be back after the lottery, which will mainly just come out as a number of numbers, to announce the identity of the first set of winners to the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
As the governor mentioned, my name is Sam Flynn. I'm executive director for Kentucky's Office of Medical Cannabis. Today, we're here in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, where in a few moments we'll conduct the first medical cannabis business license lottery for cultivators and for processors. I want to take a moment to thank the governor for his leadership on this issue, which has greatly helped us in our mission to build and implement the medical cannabis program here in Kentucky. I also want to thank the governor and our partners in the General Assembly for moving up the time frame for medical cannabis business licensing so that we can do this today, as the governor mentioned, as opposed to next year. As the governor also mentioned, before we begin the lottery process, I want to provide some background and on our licensing structure and today's process. Because our program is rooted in patient access, it's critical that our business licensing framework ensures that the industry is both stable and sustainable and grows according to cardholder demand, as the governor mentioned. For this reason, our initial license availability for each category was 10 Tier 1 cultivator licenses, 4 Tier 2 cultivator licenses, 2 Tier 3 cultivator licenses, 10 processor licenses, and ultimately 48 dispensary licenses. Today, we will be selecting the 26 cultivator and processor licenses through a lottery process. We considered the best practices used in other states and determined this was the most fair and transparent way to build this exciting new industry in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It should be noted that other states are also adopting this approach, and many states have already conducted licensed lotteries in their states. To conduct the lottery, we partnered with the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, who we're going to hear from in a moment. They are an independent third party with undeniable and unmatched experience with random draw processes. They run draws every single day. To become eligible for this lottery, the prospective businesses were required to apply to the Office of Medical Cannabis. Their applications required those applicants to submit documentation and information to the office to show that they were serious about being a responsible medical cannabis business licensee. That documentation required, amongst other things, a business history, operation plans, financial information, ownership information, and business location and site plans. They were also required to submit an application fee. Applications were notified of any deficiencies in their applications and were given an opportunity to cure. If an application was complete and had no deficiencies, they were approved. If it was deficient, it was denied. Some other applications were denied due to failure to pay, applying in multiple license categories, or for other violations of our licensing and application regulations, which are now effective. In total, 918 applications were submitted for cultivators and processors. Of those, 774, or 84%, of the applications were approved to be in today's lotteries. 144 were denied. For cultivator tier 1, 239 applications were submitted, 173 were approved. For cultivator tier 2, 190 applications were submitted, 174 were approved. Cultivator tier 3, 155 applications were submitted and 137 were approved. 334 processor applications were submitted and 290 were approved. I will note that only 170 applications were initially correct and did not need to be cured, meaning 604 applicants received their deficiency notifications and were able to correct the deficiencies identified, which shows that this process was designed to help the licensees get to this stage of the process. Because the number of the eligible applicants in each category exceeds the number of licenses available, we will be holding the lotteries in those 4 categories today. I want to congratulate the applicants who were notified of their eligibility for today's lotteries. This is the most fair and transparent way of selecting those applicants who will ultimately be part of this program. Now, for the lottery today. In a moment, the Office of Medical Cannabis will begin the process of conducting the lottery for those 4 categories. To do so, the office will provide an identified hard copy file of the eligible applicants for each category to a representative from the Office of Legal Services and the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Those files contain the name of the applicant, its county and city location, and a unique numerical identifier. The Office of Legal Services will then provide a de-identified version of the hard copy to Greg Baird, Vice President of Security Operations for the Kentucky Lottery Corporation. The file is de-identified for security purposes. The de-identified version of the file will redact the applicant's name, the location, and the unique identifier so that no one at the Lottery Corporation knows which applicant is being selected when the drawing occurs. At that point, the Lottery Corporation is in charge and responsible for the random draw process. Throughout this process, both the Lottery Corporation and the Office of Medical Cannabis will maintain a chain of custody record to record the possession and transfer of the files. Terry Sebastian, Director of Communications and Public Relations at the Lottery, will narrate exactly what is taking place while the Lottery Corporation is conducting this process. And I will provide additional commentary about the license types throughout. After each of the lotteries has taken place, the Lottery Corporation will return the de-identified files indicating those numbers that were selected to the Office of Legal Services. That office will re-identify the files on the identified list and those applications corresponding to the numbers selected. The identified files with the selectees indicated will then be provided to myself, and we will verify the selectees. They will be uploaded on the screen, and we will announce them for you here today. The entire process will be filmed for transparency and for your viewing. At this time, I will turn it over to Terry Sebastian, and we will shortly begin the lottery process. Terry.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Sebastian. I am Director of Communications here at the Kentucky Lottery. Let me first say that the Kentucky Lottery is proud to have been asked to be a part of this important initiative. And we appreciate the hard work and dedication of Governor Beshear and this administration to help build and implement Kentucky's medical cannabis program. Now, as many of you may know, the Kentucky Lottery is celebrating its 35th anniversary. We are 35 years old. We have a well-established reputation with Kentuckians in the lottery draw process. Like most lotteries, we have moved away from the ball machines to the industry standard of random number generator machines. And for today's purposes, we will just refer to those as RNG machines. The Kentucky Lottery holds 2 drawings daily, 365 days a year. In our draw studio today, there will be 3 longtime lottery employees. Our Vice President of Internal Audit, Ingram Quick, our Security Draw Manager, Beth Wheeler, and our Vice President of Security Operations, Greg Baird. Now, our draw team is currently preparing for today's draw. Each member goes through safeguards before each draw to ensure integrity and proper oversight. Here at the lottery, we have 2 RNG machines. One is labeled even, and the other is labeled odd. Prior to opening the machine that we will be using today, our team will roll a die. The number they roll will determine if they use the even or odd RNG machine for today's draw. Each draw is separate and will take approximately 1 minute and 45 seconds. At the completion of each draw, the numbers generated on our draw machine will appear on the machine's monitor, and we will read those numbers aloud. As Sam mentioned, once our draw team has completed each draw today, they will print those out, each will sign off on them, and we will place those results in a folder. Once all 4 draws are complete, our Vice President of Security Operations will return the final draw results and sign a chain of custody form to the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. I will now turn it back over to Sam for the Office of Medical Cannabis to start the file transfer process.
Medical Cannabis, Scotty McFarland, is currently signing over the custody documents, hard copy files to Blake Vogt, who is our Deputy General Counsel in the Office of Legal Service at the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Those files, again, contain the name of the applicant, the county, the city, location, and the unique numerical identifier. The file is numbered 1 through however many applicants we ultimately have for each drawing. The applicants are listed in a random order, as I mentioned earlier, set by the cabinet, so that no one knows which applicant is associated with which number in the file. Ultimately, Blake will now provide a copy momentarily of the de-identified version of the records to Greg Baird, the Vice President of Security Operations for the Lottery Corporation. And it's important to note that the file is, again, de-identified for security purposes, so that nobody outside of this process and nobody at the Lottery Corporation actually knows the identity of those folks that are selected. So it looks like the chain of custody document has been signed, and at this point, the Lottery Corporation is now going to be in charge of the process. So at this point, the ball is in your court, and if you want to walk us through a little bit about what the process is going to look like as Greg takes this down the hallway to the draw room, I think that'd be great.
All right, so what we're going to see now is Vice President of Security Operations is walking down the numbers to our draw team, and you will see that he has given the information to our draw team. They will review the numbers in order to actually implement today's 4 drawings. And that is what they're doing now. They're going through the documentation to ensure they have the information for today's 4 drawings. Once they have gone through those, which it looks like they have, they will roll a die to determine if it is even or odd. There's the roll of the die. And it looks like they have chosen the even random number generator machine. They will now open that machine. There's a seal that they are breaking. They will uncover the machine and they will start the process. The next part of the process is they will separately put in their security credentials into the machine for today's drawing. I will note that this step, like all others, are important for our draw team to make sure that there is adequate separation of security duties in the draw process. Once these procedures are complete, our draw team will signal to Sam and I that they are ready to start the first draw. While they are doing that, I will ask Sam, can you tell us a little bit about the number of selectees we are drawing today?
Sure. Thanks, Terry, and thanks for walking us through that process. So today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be drawing 26 ultimately licenses for medical cannabis businesses here in the Commonwealth, cultivators and processors. The first draw will be for processors, and there will be 10 of those. There will be 10 for Tier 1 cultivators. Now, that's the smallest category. 4 for Tier 2, that's a little bit larger, and 2 for Tier 3, and that will conclude our drawing. A moment ago, I mentioned that in total, we received 918 applications for these 26, and 774 will be included in one of these draws today. For processors, 290 are going to be in for this first draw, and that represents about 87% of those who applied. So really, really good approve rate on those. For cultivators Tier 1, 173 are going to be included in today's draw, and that's about 72%. For cultivator Tier 3, I think they have the highest, or Tier 2, they have the highest, 174 that are included in today's draw. It's about 92%. So they really did a great job on those applications. And then for Tier 3, 137 will be drawn for the 2 licenses allocated for that category, and that's about 88% of the total applications.